how do I actually run the software? I actually run from here, from the action tab, right? So that's really what I tend to do. Let me reset the view. Cool. Okay, so let's work on the point cloud. Let's start doing real work in here. Okay, so the first thing that happens, very typical question. So I have a large area like this, was flown with the drone, so you're going to pick up a lot of things that are not necessary. So we want to isolate what I would refer to as the working area, you know, kind of fenced area. Okay, so how can we do it? There's multiple ways of doing it, multiple ways of skinning a cat, of course. So for instance, I have a perimeter here. So I can draw a perimeter, blah, 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 and that's it. Now, just for reference, so you know, let me minimize this just for a second. So in CAD, you might have done a little regular survey, right? So you might have done a little research. Maybe there's a site and you might have the boundary lines, right? So as an example, what we could do is we tell the software, hey, I actually have a boundary. You know, I drew a boundary, I have the survey record, I have the plat, I already drew it. So what you could do, and maybe we'll do it that way this time, we'll tell the software, you know, here's the read polyline, right? So I could tell the software, let's bring the polyline from CAD. Sorry, I just clicked there. I'm gonna go back to projects, under here, process data, polylines, read from CAD. It's gonna send me over. I can grab the polyline from there, right click. It's gonna say, do you wanna add this polyline to the current scene? Yes, absolutely. Cool. So now we have that polyline there. All right. Let me flip this over. There's my boundary line. It came from CAD. So you have those options back and forth. You can bring a polyline from CAD, use it to do something here. So again, following that logic, and you guys have seen me do some other stuff, or some of you. Otherwise, we can do a real quick, let me do a quick selection here so you get an idea. So I'm gonna run a selection by polyline inside. There we go, that's my working area. So what can I do now? Well, let's go ahead and do a cloud. I'm gonna create a brand new cloud here. I'm gonna call this one working area, and let's hit OK. Now, before, you know, this is going to take a second or two. So there we go, it's finished. New behavior. It's going to ask me, do you want to close that view? Perfect. I want a brand new view. Perfect. Hit OK. Awesome. Now I don't have to worry about, you know, did I close it? What am I looking at? All right. So we have the right one. Okay. Before I let it go, FYI, what if I had done this by perimeter? Well, you draw a quick shape here, and I'm going to do it like literally a very quick shape like so. And once we're there, I could have done the same thing, create a cloud out of that. So again, if you don't have a polyline in CAD, it doesn't matter. Just trace something like this. You can draw a polyline in here too, and then use that polyline too. Some of you guys have seen similar presentations that I've done, and you've seen me usually do the perimeter. I wanted to show you guys something different. Let's read a polyline from CAD, right? What else can I do here? I can do an invert selection, or I could say, no, I need all the points, or guess what? I'm not doing anything else. Perfect, great, we're good to go. Okay, I'm gonna start a little different today. A lot of times, you know, I tend to go straight into, hey, let's go ahead and do the bare earth thing, and we're gonna do a couple of things. We are going to do that. But there's a brand new command in 2023. It's called buildings, right? So let's go ahead and show buildings. What can we do in that new command in Carlson 2023? Well, if we go to the action tab, again, you notice it's open, that's why I like it. I'm gonna go into the building. So extract, building. So brand new tools here. Okay, so what do we have? We have options to which layer we want to use. I'm gonna say building outline, whatever layer there, I don't care. We can switch it over, of course. Units, this is important, guys. Make a note. So point clouds tend to be unitless. Now, when it comes from a drone, like photogrammetry, photo capture, we're gonna give you all the information of projections, you know, like California. So this is California, so not 83, California zone 5. We're gonna tell you this was processing feet, US survey feet, so on and so forth. But when it comes with that from a ground scanner, many softwares like Cyclone, Vectorworks, etc., they'll send it over in metrics. You wanna do a conversion. But if you don't, let us know. Hey, I'm working in feet or I'm working in meters. The point cloud is in feet or in meters. In this case, it's feet, right? Cool. Okay, what can we do? We can do walls, we can do roofs, or we can do everything. So how about we do all, right? So we'll do all, so that way it grabs everything from here. We're good to go. Okay, 2 questions. Minimum wall height. And here what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what is a landscaping wall, what is a fence maybe, versus what is a building wall. So that's really the question here. Now our default is, in this case, feet, 8 feet, right? We're saying, or in my case, I'm saying anything that's above this 8 feet range would probably be a wall, right? That's really what I'm saying. If you have a different situation, I've done a lot of tests already with this, and if you have fences, like landscaping walls and things like that, maybe you want to pick them up, so you might say, oh, let's lower this, or maybe you have something higher, so you will change those parameters. Story height. Well, this is really about building elevation. So what is the building story height? Now, you don't need to tell us what the building height is the average height for a building would be, let's say, 12 feet, 12, 14 feet, something like that. What the software will do with that is basically trying to say, hey, I think there's a building here, and I'm trying to calculate how tall the building is. So that 12, 14 is going to give it a range of, oh, I think I am around here, right? Now, you notice that I clicked extract. So again, only 2 questions. I said all, gave it those parameters. The next thing is basically go ahead and extract. So what the software is doing right now, it's finding ground planes, it's removing all of that stuff, and then it's figuring out, okay, what seems to be the rooftops? In this case, it's going for the roofs, right? Because I said all. I'll do a building, like building walls, a little later in this presentation. Hopefully, if I'm not running out of time, we should be fine with time, by the way. All right, so this one, because I did everything, it's looking at this whole point cloud, which right now, after I reduced it, with that boundary, it's probably down to, I don't know, like 20 million points, something like that, something in that range, right? So it's looking at all that data, isolating the buildings. It's almost done. My fair warning to everybody, I have another point cloud where we flew, well, I say we, it was actually a customer, a friend. He flew the side, he has subdivision, he did a little bit of oblique angle for that because trying to pick up the walls and other stuff in that site. Tons of houses, subdivision, processing time for that. I'll show you the file if you guys are interested. That took about 10 minutes of my computer, of processing time. This one takes probably, I don't know, I've been talking for about a minute or so. So it's probably take about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, something little like this. But once it's done, which is basically what it's doing right now, you'll see that it'll say, hey, it's generating the building outlines. So it figure out where the planes are, the kind of those walls and roof planes are. And then after that, it'll just go out and trace the polylines and we'll be done. So I'll show you the result of that momentarily. All right, so again, it's gonna take a few more seconds, but I think it's worthwhile. It's a really, really nice tool that we just added to this 2023 version. Ben, as we wait, is there any particular question that you can see there that I can address in the next minute or so?
Nope, nothing right now, Luis.
Okay, cool. All right, so it's done. Perfect. So I'm going to do an end action. And by the way, I like to do end actions because a lot of times the way we think about this, by the way, is, oh, maybe you want to do another one. So we keep the commands open. And it's great, but when I'm doing presentations, I like to do end action. So that way I'm not confusing anything. Now, I told you guys that this is already done. So let's do this. I'm going to go to the project tab here and let's go into the layers. Why? If you right click on layers, right here in the project manager, in the project tree, right click on layers, go edit. It'll show you the layers that we have created so far, right? Building outline, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna make that red, okay? Now the boundaries in CAD was magenta, so I'm gonna switch that over. I'm gonna hit okay, perfect. All right, let's look at this from the bottom. There you go, there's your building outline. So as you notice, it did it. I'm good to go. Now, is it perfect? No. I notice immediately, here's the edge. But what I could do now, if I really wanted it, and I don't, I could right click here now and there's an edit. So now I can go out there and start looking at this and move it around and change whatever I need to change, so on and so forth, right? But again, if I'm looking from a planimetric point of view, this is good. I mean, I'm happy with that result. Usually I would fix that down in my CAD software, but we picked up the roofs already. So this is fantastic. I'm happy with what just happened. All right, cool. Great, so we have that. Now let me show you another thing about layers. Let's go into the edit menu again. Now on here, notice that there is an import. So what we can do now is say, wait a second, I have layer standards in CAD. So how about we bring the drawing layers, So we're gonna read your CAD file. We're going to list all the layers for you, and they can say this. Here's a group of layers that I want to bring into my point cloud so I can use them, right? It's going to bring up the colors, by the way. Or you have a layer standards file. So now you can load a layer standards file. So if you do a lot of work with point clouds, so feature extractions and things like that, and you always want to see the same layer names, same colors, it just makes sense, right? So a couple of new things in 2023, right? So I'm gonna hit okay out of this one. Fantastic. All right, so we have the buildings. So big question I've been asked, I don't know how many times over the last 3 days. All right, what else? Okay, so now that I have the rooftops, well, what I want to do is remove the buildings, the cars, the trees, and all that stuff. So the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna go here, we're gonna right click in here. But again, it's the same thing if I was in the action menu, but I just wanna give you some options. I'm gonna right click in here and notice the menu. Again, contextual. So one of the options that I have here is bare earth. That's the one I'm gonna run, but notice that you have clean, resample, smoothing, you have transformations. So if you're gonna do like scale, translate, rotate, and scale, or maybe you're switching to projection, this started in, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna give you a good example, but let's say NAT 83, 2011, and we're gonna do 2017.5 or something like that, or there was an error in how the initial setup was done, and we need to change to a coordinate transformation. So there are some tools for that. Read register. Notice I said re-register, not register. If you have a ground scanner, you have to register the cloud with your ground scanner software. They're proprietary files. But let's say that there was an error in the coordinates when you set it up, right? So that's when we can go in here and say, okay, I have the real coordinates now, so let me re-register this cloud so it moves it to the right place, right? Okay, how about clean? Just for a second, I'm not going to run any of this, but things that you can do: remove duplicated points. That's kind of a simple one. I love this one with ground scanners, right? So you have a ground scanner, you're going to have millions and millions of points, and a lot of times within a 20-foot radius from your scanner, you're going to pick up quite a few million points. So this is reducing a little of that noise, right? The other one I like, remove isolated points, outliers, basically. So my settings, if anybody's paying attention, I shouldn't say attention, but writing down anything, my default, I like to be in the 5 to 10 points. So basically I'm saying, if there's only about 5 to 10 points around a particular area, those tend to be outliers. Again, you have a point cloud, so you have hundreds, thousands of points within a small area. In this case, my threshold is 1 foot. And then if you want to do something really advanced, then do a remove redundant points. Now, this is not a ground scanner. This is something that was flown with the drones, so I don't need to do this reduction. I really don't. I only do that with ground scanners. All right, so go ahead and cancel out of there, and let's run the bare earth. So right click here, bare earth. Brand new feature, brand new filter in 2023. We call it by expansion, right? There's a very simple setting. We want another point cloud. Do we want ground or not ground? That's the simple classification, Carlson. It is ground or not. Or do you want to do it as regions? So again, this will generate, it will keep the same cloud, but now you have those classifications. You can turn on and off different things. I'm going to go for a separate cloud. All right, so I'll say 2 here. There we go. And not 21, 2. There we go, Earth. And notice that's all the setting. There's nothing else. That's it. You let it run. And it's a new way we're sampling the point clouds. We're trying to figure out ground planes. We sample multiple times, look around, so on and so forth, and off we go. And let's create a brand new scene for that one. Again, I created a new cloud. It's called Working per Earth. And we'll see the result of that momentarily. And there we go. Fantastic. It removed the trees and everything else. Now, just in all fairness, for instance, here, and this is again a challenge with photogrammetry. This is fairly flat. It came up as a fairly flat thing. So the software said, I think that's ground. I don't think that's part of the building, right? But just give you an idea. So let's go into action real quick. Let's do a window selection here. And let's do it from down below. Let's say from here, like so. I'm going to go not necessarily tight. I'm going too tight for this class. Right, something like that. And then you can say delete. Fantastic. We just deleted a bunch of points. Perfect. I don't need to do anything else. Some people ask me, can I run an outlier now? Because maybe there's a couple of points that can be removed now after that. Absolutely. Run the other filter. Not a problem. Okay, another thing. I want to go back to project, and this is me. I'm kind of old school. So I want to save. We've done some work now. So I want to save this. Fantastic. Okay. So we have the rooftops. So we have the building footprints now. We have bare earth this. So let's go with a little more of extraction. Okay, so we have a parking lot here, right? So let's do this. Let's go into action. That sounded really funny. Let's go into action, color lines, and we're gonna run some algorithms here. Okay, paint stripes. Paint stripes are your road markings. We have parking lights. I'm gonna run that one, parking lights. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to create a selection here, right? So let's go ahead and click on selection. There we go. Now, what I like to do, you notice that there's the paint here, there's the T there, so it's a great place to click right there in the middle where you can find the paint. Now we're doing a couple of things. You notice that it already selected everything, right? So we're doing a little chromaticity and we're analyzing clusters, right? So now we have some basic information and we measured it just a second ago. We know that there are some small vehicle lines, so it's not your standard, 18-foot long type of stripe. So I'm gonna go down to 14 here. Now I can tell the software, hey, go and analyze the entire site based on the criteria that I just gave you and draw me all the parking lights for this site. All right, it's gonna take a second or two. Maybe more than a second. Usually when I'm sharing GoToMeeting, it just everything slows down a little bit. So there we go, perfect. We have all the parking lines, fantastic. Now, is it perfect? Of course not. We're gonna find out that there are situations, like here, there's a little bit of faded paint on what we did here. You see it there. It didn't pick up fully some of those, and that's okay. We can go and fix some of that. So how do we do it? Well, let's do it in a couple of ways. Let's start with the easy one. So we're gonna click here on line editor. Fantastic. Now, notice a couple of things. There's confidence. So the ones that we're pretty sure this worked. So those you will see with high confidence. Then you have low confidence. We're not entirely sure. So you might want to go and take a look at them, right? Now, I'm not going to do it right now. It's really about moving around the site, the point cloud, and just making sure that all the lines are okay. That's really what it is. Usually I do it visually, and then if there's anything missing, I'll come here and look at what has the lowest confidence and check it out that way. All right, so what can we do? Let's use the fill in missing lines. So let me click on this parking line here. I want to click on a second parking line there. And let's assume for a second, well, my offset's a little off. So, but whatever, let's assume it works. I'm gonna hit enter, just get some line work in there. You get an idea of what happened. Now, what if I were to say, well, I really need to move this and put it on the right place. So I could do an adjust endpoints. That's a quick way of doing it. Or, if I really didn't want this, and again, I'm just going quick, so just to show you options. The other thing I could do, I could select a line like such, and then actually do what we call create offset parking line. And say, there's another line there, there should be another line here. So it depends on your site, and you might find some tools are better than the others. By the way, there is a right-click menu. So if you right-click, in this case it ends, if I right-click again here, you see things. Do you want to see the next confidence line? Do you want to create a new line? Filling the missing lines, delete lines, so on and so forth. So there's kind of that interface. So I don't need to go back and forth between my line editor, the action tab, and the scene view, right? Fantastic. So we have a bunch of parking lines. Sure, I can spend a little more time and really clean it up. Okay, perfect. So what else can we do? Since we have the stalls, how about we tell the software count the parking stalls? And voila. Now this is Los Angeles, so people do tend to do this. But no, there is not a double row parking here. So I'm going to remove a couple of those in here. Sorry, I should click remove. There we go. There we go. Those are not there. It found that. It missed that one. So I can say, well, I need to add a standard one there because it missed it. Cool. Now, my parking lines in this site are white, but there are handicap stalls. They're blue. That's why I didn't pick them up. Technically, yes, I could run another selection for parking lines using the blue color, find all of those, or in this case, there's a handful of those handicaps. So I'm just gonna go fast. So I'll switch it over to handicap and I'll say, I need to add a couple of handicap stalls. There we go. So notice the count, 324 standards, 2 handicaps. Now I can save this. More importantly, I can report it. So there you go. Let's take a look, quick peek at that, and that's it. Print it out, so on and so forth, talk to the architect or the engineer. All right. Fantastic. So we're done with that. So I'm going to do an edit action. Again, remember guys, I told you I like to go kind of that way. Let me reset. Kind of that way so I know what's happening all along, right? Okay, so let's go back to color lines. What else do we have? Well, we did parking lines. There's color edges. And there's a lot of applications for color edges, right? Polyline layer, sidewalk, color tires, medium, that's fine. We're in feet, perfect. Well, what about a new tool? We call it very simply sidewalk. What do? Just tell the software, we're gonna draw an edge, click, and you're done. That's it. And notice that it's in continue edge mode. So I could say, hey, it's stopped around here. Maybe I want to start it up there. Now, just because this is training, let's take a look at what else can I do? Well, maybe I didn't like something, so I might want to adjust the vertex. So in my case, let's say I want to adjust the vertex that way. And let's say I want to do the same here. I'm going to adjust another vertex. I didn't have to click there, by the way. That's me being silly. There we go. So now I could say, oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and continue the edge now. There we go, fantastic. And we have our sidewalk. And you like that? I'm going to do an end action because again, I like to close the comments. Ask me, do you want to save that? Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. Let's go a couple of things in here. Let's go back to here, layers. I'm doing this multiple times to get kind of that mode of, you know, you can add colors and everything. So my sidewalks, I like them in green, so I'm going to go green for that. There we go, perfect.